What's up, everybody? Since I'm doing AMC and Sundial and other stocks, it's hard for me to say Ape Army, but welcome everybody. I've had a couple of comments while my videos are uploading. I go to the comments and I try to answer them. There's been a couple about concerns about Fidelity and my opinion about Fidelity. And you got to understand, strictly my opinion, and I base my opinions on common sense. To answer the question about Fidelity, I'm going to go to a source that may shock you because you hear my mouth and you know I'm kind of a vulgar person. It's just because I'm such a free spirited person. I don't give a shit. But I'm also a very spiritual person too, if that makes sense. And to answer the question about Fidelity, I want to bring you to a scripture in the Bible. Believe it or not, listen to this. This is Genesis chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime for their mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach into the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered upon the face of the earth. Now, what does that scripture have to do with Fidelity? Well, there was a point where in the Bible, what was the purpose of the tower? That's what I like to ask myself. You know, whatever happens, there's always a purpose behind what's happening. And there's a purpose behind the pattern showing up. And there's a purpose behind the purpose of the pattern is to bring us to the MOAS. And the purpose of the MOAS is for the government to get a hold of the shares. That's in, you got to go to the playlist, follow the white rabbit, and you'll understand that. But for now, the connection between Fidelity and the Tower of Babel. What happened prior to the Tower of Babel being built was the flood. When the flood happened and Noah ended up getting more descendants, and they come up with a plan. They said, hey, let's build a tower to heaven so that the next time it floods, we'll be safe. That's what happened with Fidelity. There were many YouTubers who gave bad information about switching to Fidelity, that Fidelity was the safe place to go. And for the people that were there, it was a safe place to go. But fearing the crash and the vanquishment of these other brokers, everybody fled over to Fidelity. Some E-Trade, some, other brokers. But the majority of the people followed the advice of the YouTubers and they moved their shares over to Fidelity. Now, the purpose of that was to escape the vanquish. The purpose of building the Tower of Babel was to evade the next judgment. But God didn't have that plan. And they said, no. There's no escaping the judgment. There's no escaping what's coming over here. There's no escaping what's coming. There's going to be so many brokerages vanquished that it's just not going to be a pretty thing. We're headed for a bad time. But Fidelity, everybody moved their shares to Fidelity. Now you push your sell button and you may have a problem because there's so many people at Fidelity trying to sell their shares at the same time as you. That's another reason why I did the video on, look at the name of it, understanding my AMC bracket system. You don't want to get caught up in the herd trying to sell theirs. Fidelity's going to get vanquished, mostly because everybody switched to it. And when everybody goes to sell, who's online to give you that money? Fidelity. So the more people that fled to Fidelity instead of escaping the coming crisis, you've enhanced it with Fidelity, because Fidelity is going to be on the hook when you press sell to give you your money. So, trying to escape a judgment, you can't. Trying to escape this judgment that's coming to the stock market, there's no escaping it. You're not safe anywhere. The only safe thing to do is to set a bracketing system, work your way up. That's what I'm doing. It's not financial advice. I'm just telling you, common sense says Fidelity is going to get vanquished. They're going to get to a point. So they left a comment how many, they got this many billion and then that many billion. But you've got a whole bunch of motherfuckers over there that's going to be trying to sell. And that liquidity is going to drop. They're not going to have the cap. They're not going to have the money. At some point, they'll reach a situation where they don't have the money. Now, don't panic. Set your brackets. Be happy with what you make. Thank God for what you've made. And then we move on to other plays. Like I said, though, I'm going to remove my money from everywhere I'm at for at least a week until all the vanquishing's over with and we see who's left standing. So, are you safe with Fidelity? The same thing as them safe with the Tower of Babel. There's no escaping judgment. No matter if you're Weeble, Robin Hood, Fidelity, they're all going to get vanquished. And then after it's over with and the dust settles, you find out where you want to go after that. But if you're in Fidelity, just know that's a perfect excuse of why you need a bracketing system, because so many people fled to Fidelity, and Fidelity is going to be on the hook for the money when you press sell. Nobody thought about that. I did. That's why I left my shit over here in Webull and Public and E-Trade, so I could try to sell a few shares out of each one when I need to. But if you're there, all I can tell you is batten down the hatches and get ready, because the storm's coming. It may come as early as next week. I also believe that if it's prolonged, it's not going to be prolonged past the 21st, which is when all the major options come into fruition. But all I can tell you is no matter where you're at, if you're with Weeble, if you're with Moo, if you're with any of these other brokers and everybody shifted, don't worry. I just seen a report that said Weeble's on the hook for 25% of the float. That's pretty good. You know what that tells me, and why I didn't switch, is everybody that left Weeble, that means Weeble's gonna have the cash to pay me. If everybody would have stayed with Weeble, we would have had a problem. But shifting out opened the door to where Weeble's not gonna be on the hook for that much money, because more people switch their shares. Moo's not gonna be on the hook as bad because everybody moved their shares. Public and the rest of them, they're going to cover, and at some point they'll get vanquished too. But I believe, it's just my opinion, these bigger brokers, they're in even bigger trouble because they're going to have to pay you. Love you.